And welcome everybody to the Splinter Talk Show. We are now at episode 4. Thank you guys for showing up live or listening to the replay on YouTube. You can also find it now on Spotify, Anchor, all those good things. And today's show is also sponsored by ZenSports. Amazing company putting together tournaments, Splinterlands, other play-to-earn games alike. Today we have 2 excellent guests and one that unfortunately that we have to put the Family Feud buzzer red X on because his internet has been dying. We were trying to get him in here today. He was on his phone and it just wasn't working out. So unfortunately, no Jim today. So he cannot take the record of being on 3 episodes yet. But we do have some excellent guests here as well. First up is Zerg, a part of the stream team, a streamer over on Twitch. Zerg, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and your channel real quick.
Mostly just stream gameplay, usually noon or 1 p.m. now, Eastern, weekdays. Come if you just want casual fun, not very professional. Just like to have some fun. That's about it.
Non-professional streamer. I love it. That's kind of what all gamers are though, right? I mean, like what gamer can you say is really professional? Am I right?
Today's was really bad. I hit every faux pas on today's stream.
Well, your
my green
stream
screen
team
fell. Kids showed up. I got phone calls.
Your stream on Tuesday was great. I saw you. It went over to me. It went over to Jim. All of that day was prime.
Good.
So it was prime. So there you go.
All my problems were today. Okay.
All right. And then next up, we have the lovely, the amazing, the one and only, the beard that is weird beard. What is up? For people that maybe don't know you, I'm assuming a lot of people do, but do you want to introduce yourself real quick as well?
Absolutely. So my name is Rick. I go by Weird Beard on the internets. I have a half-white mustache, and it's a birthmark. I don't just dye it for some reason. But I am the Esports and Tournaments Director, marketing guy, I guess, for Splinterlands. Anything that has to do with the tournament or like being able to go out there and talk competition, that's my realm.
Yes, and you repeatedly on the town hall, it sounds like your job is just getting yelled at. That's how you've described it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, listen, tournaments are one of the most accessible things for people to be able to complain about. So, like, I welcome it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's like just understanding that you're kind of like the head of a medical insurance company. I know the deal. I know what's going to happen, but, I'm going to go out there and do the best that I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me here tonight for episode 4. Today, I want to start a discussion. Usually we talk a little bit about the town hall. I don't think there was, that much big news. It was kind of a lighter week, maybe with some guild talk and stuff like that. So I'd rather tonight more focus just straight into the main topic. And if we want to refer to anything in the town hall, we can do that. But really, I want to start talking about Splinterlands as a game. I'm really happy that we have Weird Beard here and Zerg as an older player because I think it's really interesting what we're seeing in this play-to-earn space. A lot of this I feel like has really grown this last year like crazy. And it was mostly, I feel like, for people that have been in crypto already, who had a bunch of money to jump into Axie when it was $500 to get a team, or Splinterlands when, you're trying to get into Silver Power 4 months ago was something like $600 just to get to 15,000 power, right? And so you see a lot of these people get into these games simply for the finance side. And I think we're now starting to see a shift potentially of these games where, yes, the finance and the ownership of the NFTs is good, but we need some of the gameplay, some of the fun, just the, how do we branch out of just, hey, here are the million crypto people that know about GameFi, and how do we branch out to make a really engaging experience for everyone, even if they're not a crypto player, to get into this space. So that's what we want to talk about tonight. How do we grow the player base? How do we get new players into this game? What are some ideas? Weird Beard's obviously on the team. Me and Zerg as a streamer, we have some insight to the community. So it should be a fun discussion. But before we get into kind of the hot topic, this is where I kind of want to start to maybe set up the conversation, is just get your guys' stories on how the heck did you even get into Splinterlands in the first place? Because I think our stories can maybe relate to how do we get some other players to start playing these games. So Zerg, I want to kick it over to you. Give us your story. How did you get into Splinterlands? When did this happen? How did you find out about it, and what drew you in and kept you playing?
Well, I've pretty much been in crypto. I heard about it, Bitcoin, Ethereum back in like 2017, watched it go up. I was, interested in it. Kind of followed it for a long time, and then it really was Alien Worlds. It's not a great game, but that's what got me into NFT gaming. And from there, the next one was the Splinterlands. And I saw Steve R. I learned how to play it. I put a little money in, not much. And, just every couple of weeks, I put a little bit more in, And, I just slowly built my deck. I built it to a silver deck. I built it up to a gold deck. And I started to build it into a diamond deck until, it exploded and the prices went up. So then I stopped investing, but I kept playing. I kept earned DEC. I earned reward cards, got chests. And I kept playing and my deck kept getting bigger and bigger. And that's how I did it. And it's the best game. I play Axie. I play a dozen other little games, but Splinterlands is what I've always, stuck with and what I like the best. So.
Yeah, and so for you, did you get into the game simply because of the investment side, or because you loved the gameplay so much? What was that drawed you in?
I just really it was I like Magic the Gathering back in the day, and it's something I quickly get picked up on. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this is similar. Oh, only $10 to start, okay, and I don't have to pay anything else. And I did that for a couple of weeks. I didn't buy anything else, just a spell book, and then. I liked the game. So then I wanted a couple cards and then I wanted a couple more. And then it just built. It was about the gameplay. It wasn't about investing. It was just about gameplay. And all that came, ancillary. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but it was all on the side. It just,
sure.
That came along with it. But I was drawn to, and I keep playing it because it's fun.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's interesting that, you're not necessarily here, at least initially, like, hey, I want to get into this because I see I'm going to get my 10x on cards or SPS or whatever it is. It was more, hey, I'm already a card player. This appeals to me. This makes sense. So for Weirdbeard, how about you? What is your story? Obviously, you're on the team now, but were you playing Splinterlands before? How did you find out about this game and what was going on here?
Well, I mean, I have a weird story. Like it's very odd.
All right. Well, we want a weird beard story.
So like my background, I've done 10 years in traditional media across TV and radio, right? Like I had nothing to do with blockchain gaming whatsoever. So I started off doing radio in West Virginia, doing at WVAQ. I was a overnight board op for Open House Party, if you've ever heard that on the radio a gajillion years ago. And I went from doing that to doing radio in Philadelphia, doing a night show with Wiz Khalifa's DJ. I actually went by DJ Raja when I was on the time, and then he renamed me to Rick City because he was like, DJ Raja's not cool enough. You got to be Rick City. So I got Tyga, if you know him, the rapper. He had a song called Rack City, and so I have a recording where he's like, Rick City, bitch, Rick City, bitch. And I'm like, that's me.
No, you don't.
I swear to God. I swear to God.
Now, you need to take that recording and turn it to an NFT. Think about how much you can sell that off.
Don't even tempt me. I have so many weird things in my recordings. So I got fired from that job for playing a Dirty Iggy Azalea song on the radio by accident. And then I went from there to South Bend, Indiana, where I did a morning show with a guy from Ireland so Notre Dame is there. So they got a real Irish guy to do the mornings with me, and it was Irish Dave and Rick, and we did like a Delilah type station, right? So we'd play like Adele into, like soft pop music. And then I went from there to Portland, Oregon, and I did country radio in Portland, which is actually way bigger than you would anticipate it being in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, that's surprising to me. As someone who lives near Portland, I would not guess that at all.
Yes, the two top stations in Portland are always country stations. I went from there back to Detroit, and because I'm from Michigan originally, I did a throwback hip hop radio station for a couple of years. And then my radio company, the owners had like a 10-minute meeting with Robert Kraft, right? And they went up and they shook Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, hand, and they were like, "Hello, Mr. Kraft, how do we make money?" And Robert Kraft looked at them and said, "Get into esports." So they had no idea what they were doing, but they go, we gotta get into esports, I guess. So they went and bought the Houston Outlaws, which is a professional Overwatch team, and then they bought out a like a local podcast group that had been doing like esports and video game news. And they bought those guys out, brought them in house to the radio company, and then moved me off of doing terrestrial radio to build this like esports and video game like vertical, right? So we covered like traditional player interviews. We got in for like pro Valorant or pro Overwatch, professional Counter-Strike, and then we'd write articles and go to like your E3s and do coverage there and do video game reviews and just do the whole industry in general. Back in November of last year, they folded that, and stopped doing it because they realized that it wasn't just like printing money for them. And I was I was back on the job market. And I had to come to terms with like, okay, Rick, you've done 10 years in radio. Do you want to go back to doing radio? You've done video games for like 2 years now. Do you just want to go whole hog into doing that? And I was like, I hate radio anymore. Like, I just don't want to do it. I have a 10-year-old daughter and she's like, what's radio? And you're like, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's like the internet, but for old people. And so I started applying to game openings. And Splinterlands was one of them, and I got hit up by Chatter, who's the head of marketing, and was like, "Hey man, do you want to come in and do esports and tournaments?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I do! Like, let's party." So then I found my way here, and now I'm like,
wow,
neck deep in it.
Did you know about were you into crypto at all or GameFi, or did you even know what a blockchain game was at that point?
Yes. So okay. I knew it from having to cover it on the news side, right? I was never a GameFi player. I was never somebody who I understood blockchain and things like that on it's like not a kindergarten level, but I could explain it to other people. But if they were to ask those follow-up questions, you know what I mean? Of so why is the gas fee so high on Ethereum? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know what a gas fee is, man. I can just tell you this thing does this thing and it goes here. So I was crypto curious. But I think that's one of the things that really helps me do well in the tournament space here is that I don't care about the crypto side of it. That sounds really bad, but it's more I want to promote a fun and marketable game that stands on its own two legs as a game before having to shill to people and be like, oh, look at all this money you can make and all these assets and these collectors and traders. That's right. A viable type of player in this game, but those people aren't engaging with tournaments. The people that come to tournaments want a fun game. So that's what I champion.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I wanted you on this episode is because I've heard you talk about that in the town hall of this is a game first, right? And then the investment, the money side, yeah, it's important, but as you said, to you specifically, I'm focused on I think you said in the town hall, I want to beat down, Riot and Valorant and League of Legends. And,
yes,
which that might be a little much. I don't know.
It is, but listen, if there's ever going to be mainstream adoption of play-to-earn gaming and blockchain gaming, you have to want to be in those spaces. You know what I mean? Every big-scale multiplayer game that launches nowadays, even if it was like a PUBG, or if it was what was the one that was it was another shooter, I forget what it was. It doesn't matter. Any AAA game that launches nowadays wants to be in that space, right? Of the top 1 to 20 games streamed on Twitch, and these are the types of things that you have to do to attract an audience that's that big. And if Splinterlands is ever going to get to the size that it needs to be, those are the kinds of best practices that you have to follow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. And I'm curious from your point of view as someone that's on the team, is that, is the whole team's viewpoint kind of like that? Hey, we want to just make a game and make it fun, and the NFT stuff and the investment side, it's important, but it's not the most important thing. It's kind of a side thing. Or is it more mixed on the team and you're coming from a different perspective because you haven't been in the GameFi and crypto space as long?
It's mixed, and it's mixed for two reasons. One, yes, I have not been in the GameFi space very long, so I don't speak the same language. You know what I mean? It's like having a different dialect to where they'll start talking about things, and I'm like, I don't care. Is it cool? That's all I want to know. Is it cool? Dope. But then the other side of it too is tournaments are one-off, right? Meaning if you do a really cool tournament, it's great. If you do a one-off tournament that fails miserably, okay, whatever. You learned a lesson, you keep on moving on from it. A lot of the changes that the main team are looking at have ripple effects, so that they go across not just, if you change ranked rewards, it's not just ranked rewards, it's the overall economy of the game. It's how is it that people interact with it? How is it that we're attracting new people? How does it it's all these things that you have to take into account. Whereas tournaments, I get to play with house money. You know what I mean? We're in there able to tweak the tournaments how we think it's going to be going. How do we, what do we want to do? What's the purpose of tournaments? Because it's so kind of mushy, I get a lot more leeway in being able to, be in a space that's not as overly regulated as this other stuff. They have to take into account 20 different things. Whereas for me, it's just do I think players are going to like it? That's my only stance, since I'm I've always argued I want to be known as the person of the people. I'm here putting on tournaments that people want to play in. And so if it passes that mantra, I don't really care about anything else after that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a cool perspective and a cool way to go about it. And, you're in that unique position where you're not, the head of the entire ecosystem and economy that you have to worry about. What do we do about DEC and SPS? I mean, obviously that relates to tournaments in the sense that that's the entry fee and stuff, right? But, you get to really think about, hey, how do we make this a cool game? And I think that's kind of what I want to jump into is, where do we think this game is at currently in its state? Because I think for me in my story, it's one of those things where I definitely got into this game because I heard it was a play to earn game. And that kind of, as you were saying, Zerg, the competition isn't that strong. Coming from Alien Worlds, Splinterlands is a godsend, right? You're going from a game where I just click a freaking button once every 30 minutes because I want to get some free crypto versus okay, I actually have strategy behind this game. But it wasn't like this game, I've played other card games a little bit as a teenager. I hadn't for a while, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, a little bit here and there, but it wasn't I'm an avid card player. So going into Splinterlands, I check out this game, and really the reason I got into it was because it was only $10. It was a play to earn game, and I could earn some DEC. And it took me probably about 3 or 4 weeks before I was okay, I actually think I really enjoy this game. There's a lot of strategy. Now I'm in silver. There's all these different rule sets and mana caps and stuff versus bronze 3. I'm just sitting here. It's kind of repetitive. All I got to do is remember this number equals this lineup and I win. If I don't put this lineup, I probably lose. Or more, rock, paper, scissors when it's 20 mana, no rule sets. So for me, I think that's where I'm curious to hear. I'll pass it on to you, Zerg. Where do you find this game is at? And as far as just a pure entertainment level, is this fun to you, or is this man, I love this game. I'm talking to all my friends about it, my family. I'm trying to get everyone into this game because I think it's a top level game right now. So where on that scale are you kind of at with it, Zerg?
I would say it's still early. I know we've already had one spike at big growth, but I really do think we're still early. I think the esports is early on this. I can see it getting a lot bigger. I can see it becoming, more widespread. But I really think that we aren't, even though it seems that way, like we made it last fall or whatever, now we're big. I really think there's a lot more to go. And, I think it'll get there, but it's probably won't be another huge jump. It'll probably just be a little bit at a time. Maybe by summer we'll sell out all our packs. Maybe by we'll have the next ones, the Rift Watchers, and then land play will come out and other things will happen, and it'll just keep building. So I really do think we're growing, and esports, I don't think we've even barely got off the ground. I mean, there's so much Weird Beard I think has in store for us that I think that I think the sky's the limit.
And I want to speak to, I think it would be disastrous if there was going to be another ginormous spike. If there was another ginormous, huge spike of players. And the reason why is because, especially in video games, you get one bite of the apple. If somebody comes to your game and they do not like it, or they don't know what's happening, or they're turned off from it, they do not come back. There's, you know what I mean? The people that have gotten into Splinterland so far have done it through sheer force of will and being able to put up with it, not because it was a great onboarding process. And so I do not want to dump a massive number of players into the ecosystem without fixing a lot of the issues and a lot of barriers that kind of new players not only see when they first get in there, but that retention rate and the churn needs to be addressed in a way and like we have to identify what is it that's not allowing long-term player growth of somebody that buys a spell book and then 4 months later is still not only playing but has grown their card base.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, I'm curious to hear from you, Weirdbeard, as someone that's on the team. What do you think some of those barriers are? Is it, hey, the gameplay is actually really good and it's just some of these other things, like we just need to onboard people better, a little bit more education? Or is it like, hey, like really we need that land coming out to give that version 2.0 of the game to kind of improve some things? Where do you think the game is at in general?
I think that people who play this game see it within a bubble, and it's funny because like land means nothing to people outside of this game. You know what I mean? Like they have no what the hell is land? Like people don't know about the markets. They don't care about anything else like that. What the biggest barrier to entry right now is that it's not easy to translate how people can get in and play, what it is, and then also like getting rid of the stigmas that come attached to play to earn gaming, right? Like NFT is a dirty word in a lot of gamer spaces.
Yep.
Like you say NFT and they're instantly like, pictures of monkeys. And you're like, no, it's not what it is.
Pictures of monkey that are destroying the entire earth.
Yes. And like, they don't even hear it. They hear it's an NFT game and they're already out. But then it's also like, as it is right now, there's no avenue for new players to be able to touch and interact with that doesn't require the follow-up sentence. But if you really want to play, here's how much it costs to be able to actually play this game. You know what I mean? Like the difference between those two experiences, the like ghost cardy kind of like you first get in and you're able to play and you have all these cards, that experience does not equal the lived in experience of all the other people that are talking about like, you know what I mean? Even gold and above type gameplay.
Yeah. And someone that's come from other card games, do you find Splinterlands is actually at the same level? Like I think you mentioned you were big into Magic the Gathering, correct? Mm-hmm. Is this like, hey, I actually enjoy Splinterlands playing the game as much as Magic the Gathering, or do you think there's steps to go from the Splinterlands point of just gameplay to equal a huge Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering? I know it's not one for one, because that's part of the reason I like Splinterlands is that it's not I have to sit here for 30 minutes like a Magic the Gathering, like a Hearthstone, play it, and if I didn't get the card I wanted at the right moment, I feel like the match is over, but I have to keep playing. It's nice, quick matches. So there is I think a unique thing where it's not one for one, but at the same time, is it enough gameplay? Is it fun enough gameplay to pull in other players from Magic, from Yu-Gi-Oh? We joked about that earlier. Jim was gonna have a hard time fighting you on Yu-Gi-Oh tonight.
Don't care.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the original question. As far as the gameplay as cards, do you get excited about the Splinterlands gameplay as Magic? Like, would you pull your friends in and say like, hey, you're gonna have just as much fun here?
Yeah, I think doing it as an auto battler is smart, right? I don't think maybe the future of gaming, but it's very much so like the way games are moving. Like the top battle royale right now in mainstream gaming is Apex Legends. Do you want to know why? Because if you die, you're back in another game within 3 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like you can hot drop, fight for a little bit, go back and play again. That's like the kind of thing that people enjoy about Splinterlands, and I do too, is that it's not like, hey, we're going to commit to a full game of League here. Get ready for 60 minutes of getting screamed at and have everybody tell you you're trash and you have to go through. So I like that, but there's a lot of growth to be done. One of the main growth parts is those players that do need to understand what the game is like. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. I think Magic the Gathering players will like this game more than regular crypto enthusiasts because there's like those layers of like complexity to it. You know what I mean? But if players don't know that, right, they don't have any idea that like that's how those things work, then it's like it's just magic. It's gobbledygook to them because they have no concept of like, what the hell does this skill do? What does any of this mean? So I really think it's maybe not simplifying the game experience, but making it so that players more like earlier in their life cycle have the ability to touch and experience those different game mechanics and like what the game looks like at a higher level. Because when I play CSGO, I don't play the same way that like a professional CSGO player plays. You know what I mean? But I'm familiar with the mechanics that they're playing with. Like I understand, oh, they're doing a flash to peek this with a mid op, and that, they're going to be able to go and run this kind of like a standard setup. I'm not doing any of that, but I understand it. Like I know that that's what it is. If we were to take some of these high level champion level like tournaments and matches and play them straight out for regular viewers who are like bronze, silver, gold players, they wouldn't know what's happening. And I think that's a really hard thing to overcome as a game if your own players don't know what's happening. How are you going to get new players who also don't know what's happening to be able to relate to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what you see in this game is that it's a complete different game from bronze to silver, even from silver to gold, and then gold from diamond. I mean, it's just like any tier you're at, you go talk to one player to another, and you could be talking about almost an entirely different game, even though it functions the same way, right? Because there's so many different new abilities, stat upgrades, there's more legendary cards that people can afford up at the top. So it really does become, just a different layer of game. And I think that's one of the hard parts for Splinterlands right now is that I honestly feel like the bronze experience is just not a good experience. And I'm curious from your point of view, Zerg, when you got into this game, what was it like for you kind of climbing and grinding this game? Do you feel like it was a good experience entering the game? I know you love it now, but what was it like entering this game?
Pain.
Well, I mean, I don't think, in my experience, it could definitely been a lot better, but I personally didn't feel the pain. It's not something I went out and played 6 hours straight with, but if I wanted to spend an hour, I could play some decks. I could play a couple rounds, have some fun. It got me into it. Mm-hmm. But it was that $20, $40, buy a couple cards here, level up a summoner. I was always wanting more. So I had this drive of I'm going to spend another hour tomorrow and I'm going to work at it and I'm going to do something more. And I built up to silver. And like you're saying, that's a very different experience. Yeah. Silver's a lot different than bronze. And then, after I got silver, I started building that out, one deck at a time. First this deck, then that deck. Once I get them all, then it's like gold. It's like, oh, I want to get the gold. Oh, man, then my cards get real good, So, it took time. It took weeks. But I always had that kind of goal. Once I knew I enjoyed it, I was willing to put the effort. But I can definitely see how if you don't have that mindset to begin with, you can definitely get turned off by the difficulties, by the, but this is around in everything. And Magic the Gathering is the same. If you want to just out of the blue, pick up some cards, pick up a pack or whatever, starter deck and start playing. And if you don't have friends telling you about it, if you don't have anyone teaching you or this, that, and you just want to go to a tournament, you're going to be lost.
Well, I think it's like the biggest thing on this is I don't know if you guys play Fortnite. I feel like I do.
I am horrible at it, but I try my best.
All right. So I don't know if you know this, but when you first make a new Fortnite account, okay, create the account, you start your first match, it drops you in, right? Do you realize that you're dropped in with 80% bots? The 80% of the people in your very first match are all bots. And the reason why is because you're most likely going to win or place high.
Are you saying all my victories are illegitimate?
Yes.
Don't tell me that. Come on.
I still suck against 80% bots.
The reason they do that, though, is because they want to give you that giant dopamine hit of, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I just picked up this game and I placed third on my first time. Play it again. There's I think that's like you're in an abnormal case and that you said, you stuck with it. There's a lot of people that if they're not getting that dopamine hit from the very beginning and they're not getting the feel good juice dumped down their brain, they aren't interested. They're like, okay, that's great. Cool. Like, again, if I say that we need to be in competition with Riot, with Blizzard, with Activision, with all these kinds of people, you have to be delivering an experience on that same level of making players feel good and want to come back. Because if you have to explain why they should be interested in this, you've already lost, the battle.
So what are some things that would give us that immediate dopamine hit? Because I think for me, it was more the, not necessarily the investment side, but it was the fact oh, I'm playing a game. even before I bought any cards, because back in the day, right, in Bronze and Novice, you could still get some DEC. So it was like, okay, straight away, I'm earning this little crystal thing. I can see there's some value, and I see I can work my way towards cards. Obviously, that got removed, and probably for good reason, because of all of the people soaking up so much rewards in that area, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I guess I'm curious for you, what would be, either you, Zerg, or Weirdbeard, what would be some of those dopamine hits that would be a potential for new players to get right away?
I'm sure we already got the bots there. If they,
It's different kind of bots, though, right? They're not programmed by the company to be bad. They're freaking good at Bronze.
Maybe a campaign mode, or maybe with LAN, there's a way to have a PvE kind of mode or something. I really don't know, but I do think that there should be a way to ease into it and not just get thrown into Bronze with everyone else and people who've been there maybe a month or two. So well, I think there's opportunities, but Weirdbeard probably has a better idea.
I do, and I have one that is happening. So but let me set the stage, right? Of here's what we need that's more than just make people feel good, right? We have to allow an easy entry of peering behind the curtain for new players. That's what people don't get. Excuse me, is that you don't get dopamine just by winning. You get dopamine by seeing other people win. That's why it's cool to watch gambling streams where they just play the slots all day, because even though you didn't win $10 million, you watch somebody else win $10 million.
I mean, that's what I felt like when I was watching all those gold foil legendaries today from Balthazar. I was like, come on, where's mine?
And so getting that dopamine hit comes in many different ways. It's through spectating, through storylines, through being able to feel accomplished because you understand the game better. You know what I mean? That's a dopamine hit in itself for some people, where they just go, where it clicks and they go, oh, I learned something. I know how to do this now. They like the journey of discovering, maybe. And so that's why I've talked publicly about it a little bit, but we are working on this new tournament mode that's going to allow people to play with the same cards across all players. You know what I mean? So that it's not a matter of, hey, you have to have these cards, because again, putting it in the context of I want to go to the largest streamers on Twitch. I want to go to the Miskiffs, to the XQCs, to the Ludwigs, to the, you know what I mean? The people with hundreds of thousands of viewers. And the only way that you're going to get them to care about this game is if their audience can just look at it and go, oh, everybody's playing with the same cards. I get how it works. You know what I mean? They have to be able to, in 2 sentences, at least get the gist of it. Whereas if it's oh, well, actually, he has a level 4 Jotun, and it's because he went and bought them using SPS on the market, and then he combined them. And then that makes the splash damage be able to go here. But he can't have that because he's in a gold writ. That just... eyes glazed over. They don't care. We need to be able to provide that early dopamine hit of maybe people that aren't interested in the game, but they're interested because they see a tournament with their favorite streamer competing in it, and they go, oh, I had a lot of fun watching that. Let me go and check it out. Because then they have enough dopamine to get through maybe the, early kind of crap of going through Bronze to begin with. If you give them that little slice of cake early, all of a sudden they're much more willing to put up with the garbage that is the new player experience at the moment.
Yeah, well, and I think part of the problem is that it's such an expansive game, especially with Chaos Legion out. There's so many freaking cards, right? And so a lot of the things that I get from my community is this game is actually so hard. Even though, with me, I can go out and I know which 5 cards to rent, and I know, okay, I rent Lorna Shine and a couple sneak attack cards on my alt account. Whatever, I can smash through Bronze. This is super easy. What are you guys talking about? But I've been playing it for 6 months, right? So it's not really fair for me to give that perspective anymore. And I think one of the things, I don't know if the Splinterlands team would be interested in this, or maybe this could kickstart an idea, but one of the things I was talking about from Peak Monsters with Jarvie is, hey, it'd be really cool if we could just get automatic decks. Hey, look at this streamer's deck, click on the button, you can either buy it now or rent now, and boom, it'll give you all those cards, whatever levels, and the streamer maybe has a little video link, go watch this 10-minute video, you can see them, what's the strategy behind this deck, get it and go. And so maybe there's something a world like that where it's hey, part of your $10 spellbook is $1 of that's going to go to choose one of the 10 rental decks from these top 10 streamers. You get it for a week.
Yep.
Go have fun. Go smash through bronze and get to some of those fun rule sets or something like that. Just to get them a little motivated in the beginning of the game, rather than I only have starter cards. These bots have all those starter cards, and they already know every exact pattern to beat me every single time.
Well, you have to remember that this new tournament mode where everybody kind of has the same general cards and everything like that isn't just saying, hey, everybody has to have starter cards. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just beginner level tournaments. You could do tournaments like this because people aren't keeping the cards after of all max level gold foil cards. You know what I mean? The cards that nobody ever gets to touch, and they get, the ability to feel like a king. Like, maybe we put together a deck that's like, hey, here's the most underused strategies that people are able to do. Maybe Pokimane comes through and she builds a deck that's all just cute animals, and it's actually garbage to play with, but she just thinks all the cards are cute. Like, there's so many possibilities. Yeah, exactly. There's so many things that you can do with that like aren't just, oh, here you go, here's new player cards, because that's kind of, boring. Like, tournaments are a way of like sampling things that you normally wouldn't be able to sample. Like, we have multiple tournament modes on the way. Like, it's not just the kind of like level playing field ones. There are many different tournament modes that we have in development, and like, we're really trying to address, and like the biggest thing I think that, as like, to put this topic with a nice little bow, is like, there's one way to play the game currently. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to be, hey, I'm the kind of person who likes to play the game like this, because there's only one way of playing. There's only one tournament mode. There's only one ranked mode. You know what I mean? Like, play like this, you will win. The moment that we're able to start introducing some of these new variables and new ways for people to play, that's when it becomes easier for new players, because they don't feel shoehorned into being like, oh, I have to rent the same garbage everybody else rents, and then, oh, I have to play like this to be able to go through and do these things.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the interesting things about Splinterlands, and how do you do that? Because I'm thinking of like Hearthstone or even Gods Unchained, right? You can go in and build a specific deck that you're going to use over and over again. I want to be the person that throws out all the creatures, screw spells, right? I don't need any spells. I want the zoo deck, right? Whatever it's called.
I believe that's called a white weenie deck, if you want to be very specific on it.
Yeah, I cannot verify that, but I'll guess on that one. In Splinterlands, you can't really do that, right? You can't be like, I want the death wipe deck. It's like, no, I kind of need everything, because every rule set changes. Every deck sometimes can't be played, so I gotta at least have 3 decks that I can bounce back and forth for. So yeah, that's a really interesting concept, but I wonder, how do you even do that in a game like Splinterlands, because it's so different from other card games?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, that's a sampling of tournaments, right? Like I said earlier, everybody else is so concerned with, you can't just introduce like, hey, let everybody play with all these different kinds of things, because it messes with way more than just what they're doing. But if you open up these tournament modes where it's like, hey, I can play in different kinds of tournaments and find my thing, and then they have the ability to go out into the ecosystem and live their life and, you know what I mean, play the game how they want to. All of a sudden, they know what they're doing. Like, if I had to categorize Splinterlands players right now, it's like a lot of kids, you know how when you go from high school and you're a senior and it's like you're forced to pick like what you're studying in college, and you're like, I don't even know anything. Like, how am I going to choose a job and something to study right now? That's what it feels like with new players, is they get dumped into this ecosystem that's so big, of being like, you got to learn all these things, and they just don't know what to do, and they get overwhelmed and they just drop it because they're just not interested in sticking it through. So like, we need to make sure that tournaments are accessible to new players. We need to make sure tournaments are accessible to people who want to play in different ways. We want to make sure tournaments are accessible to people who are like maybe opposed to bots or opposed to multi-accounting, or maybe we want to make it so that it's not so people don't want to rent. Okay, well then maybe we make a season-long tournament mode to where you're entering into multiple tournaments and it's like one tournament type thing. Like, the more options we can give like that, the better return you're going to see on whatever investment you make into it.
Yeah, no,
I got another question here. Is there any chance you can have, because I know there's a lot of games where you buy a battle pass and you pay your $10 a month or whatever it is, and you're getting something for it. Is there a chance you can do that and pay $5 a month and you get someone's, streamers, your favorite streamer's deck or this, that, and, you're not messing with the marketplace. You're not messing with anything. Easy, click a couple buttons, $5 a month. And I get my access to any of these decks I want. And I go and I just play that way, maybe in a different mode or something.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny that this is a thing that's being addressed and looked at internally as I look shiftily off to the side. But what I will say is that as the tournament and esports guy, I believe that having a battle pass type option to reward players for coming back and playing frequently is needed to look like we fit in with those Fortnites and Valorants and CSGOs, right? Like, again, it's all about image. I may be swinging above my weight class when we're trying to take these guys on, but it's like, that's what you have to do to be able to attract players into the game. So it's not about whether or not that's a thing that play to earn gaming does. It's got to be, is that a thing that gaming as an industry and a whole is pursuing? And if it is, that's where your tailwind needs to head towards.
Yeah, I mean, I think a battle pass would be super cool or something like that, because, I think that's one of the things is most people that I hear that are like, yeah, I enjoy this game, but like what's really motivating me to come back every day is my ECR is at 100%. I don't want to lose out on my investment when it's like my ECR is 100%. I'm losing value, right? Or I'm coming back just to play my daily quest, and then cool, I got my chests, open them. Now I'm done waiting for the next 24 hours to come back in so I can go do it again, get my chest, because that's really what's bringing me the value, right? So I don't know. It's like, Zerg, is that kind of your experience as well, or people within your community? Do you hear that a lot, or is that not an issue for your community?
I don't think I'm as in touch with my community. I personally, I play the game and a bunch of people talk and we all have fun, and I'm not the King Krill or
King Krill.
I'm not the voice of my people or anything. I'm not really in touch, I guess I should say. But
okay, well, what about for your personal experience then?
I think that would help a lot. Personally, me playing after, like you said, after the ERC went down and I'm done with my quests, I'm for the most part done. I check to see if I have any, tournaments coming up, and this is something, I'll won't log in until tomorrow again. So yeah, if there was some battle pass where, you got points or earned cards or something, if you got something more for being active, not just once a day, but or something, I could definitely see that being, really big. I can.
Yeah, I think if you check in all 30 days, you should get a Weird Beard NFT. I think
Dude,
that needs to be it.
I'm arguing I'm going to be in this game. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how much you hate me. Even if it's like the trolliest, worst card that's out there, I need to have a dumb looking card where they have a half white mustache on something. It could be an inanimate object like a rock with a mustache. I don't care. I'm gonna make it happen.
It's not you in the game. It's just the beard.
Yes.
It's just, yeah.
Like even if it was a matter of like, because people talk about skins and stuff all the time. I just want a weird beard skin. You can put it on any character in the game. They just have the messed up beard.
Yeah. I love that idea. As long as we can also get a Luki the Lion NFT within that battle pass, I'm good with that.
ABP, always be plugging.
Oh, I mean, we'll be tweeting out again. Don't you worry. We'll be tweeting out again. Especially once we hit 2,500.
Yes. I mean, like, I just want to follow up on this battle pass idea is like, there needs to be a way that we really start showing that this game is here to stay. And doing things like battle passes, doing things like long-term tournaments, like, okay, maybe we do a pro series type tour, like the poker pro series where you have qualifiers once a month with a grand final happening at the end of the year. Those are the kinds of things that instill confidence in play to earn and blockchain gamers, so they don't think it's a rug. Like, they don't think that they're just coming in, dumping in money like you do in Axie, and all of a sudden, like you're expected to just sit around and hope that the economy ticks up. Like, we need to show that it doesn't really matter what the price of SPS is when it comes to tournaments, right? Like, it needs to be based on like, is it fun? Is it accessible? Is it something that people want to do? And if you do that and show that it's going to be happening for, months at a time, people are much less hesitant to be like, ugh, NFTs, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm starting to realize now that I've been in this space for a year is the difference. I can tell when I'm playing a game in this space because I actually enjoy the game versus just for the investment part. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed is when I stop looking at the token as what's the price of it and how much am I getting? Like, for example, in Splinterlands, I'm finally starting to get this experience now that I'm within a guild. And now I'm looking at my guild, I'm like, crap, we got to get our guild buildings up. And it's like, oh, 10,000 for this guild. And so now that I'm earning DC, I'm like, sweet, I got more DC to throw into my guild. I'm not thinking anymore when I'm adding to my guild, oh, crap, I got to donate 500 DC to my guild. Oh, no, that's, $8 or whatever it is at the time. So for me, that's like one of my first experiences where I'm like, actually, okay, the price of DEC isn't mattering here because I'm actually looking at it as an in-game token that I can go and use and have fun, build up my community. There's camaraderie within the guild. And so I think whatever the game is, Splinterlands or any other NFT game, if you can get to a space where people care more about, I want to earn this token to actually go do something within the game, rather than I want this token because I'm earning money and I want to extract value from the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's lame. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird dynamic that's only here because of like what play to earn and blockchain is. But I think it's the biggest stumbling block that, I mean, I don't want to use this word too pejoratively, but it's like most people in like that run these play to earn games are just dumb. And like they are because they are willing to like, they don't see 6 months out. You know what I mean? They care about like the biggest poll that they'll tell you about like why they should come play or why you should come play their game is they'll say, look how much money we give away. Look how much money people earn. Look how much money people are able to take.
Don't even get me started right now because literally every time I watch and look up a new game and people are like, hey, go check out this game. Front page, all I see is look at our token, look at our NFT drop.
Yes.
I can't even tell you how many games. I couldn't even tell you what the game is.
Yes.
Is it an action game? Is it a card game? Is it a shooter? I have no freaking clue. And that to me is one of the biggest problems in this space. It blows my mind.
It's crazy. And it's like, because Splinterlands lives in the weird gray area of like, because the NFT works the same as like a Pokemon card, right? You can collect it because you like it. You can collect it because it has value. You can collect it because you want to play with it. And you just own it and you're able to do whatever you want with it. That's like the boundary line of where NFT gaming is able to transit into traditional gaming. Like if you were to go any further into the NFT space, it's deep dark water where it's all just talking about like, again, the stuff that makes my eyes glaze over of liquidity pools or like your governance token or what a DAO or a DAO is or like all this other stuff. Like people don't care about that. They want to know when they go to your website, what kind of a game is it? Because I play match 3 games or I play first person shooters. Like what kind of a game? Is it fun? And then, oh, I can earn money. That's like a secondary thing to, is the game fun and do I want to play it? Like we need to, I feel goofy sometimes going on these town halls and talking to players in the game because I constantly have to remind everybody, like, quit fighting over the mountain that you're on right now. Like you're fighting over one tiny little space as opposed to seeing the world that's out there that like has no blockchain gaming in it. And the reason that there's no blockchain gaming in it is because it's that Aliens game. I don't even know what it's called or whatever. Alien World?
Alien Worlds, yeah.
Like it's what can you explain that game to me? Can you explain what the game portion of that is?
Go ahead, Zerg.
No, it's not a game. I still do it, but it's not a game. It's all you do is mine, and you basically you push a button and you collect some mineral or something, some TLM, and then you walk away, and then you come back later. I mean, that's why when Peg Axie blew up, and I saw it, and I was like, wait, you push a button and you watch an animated race that you have nothing to do with, and people are making money. I'm like, oh, that's a pump and dump. Mm-hmm. That's going to go up high, and then that's going to go down low, and a bunch of people are going to lose out. I'm staying away from that. Thank you. And that's exactly what happened. Theta Arena, I thought maybe had a better chance, but essentially the same thing. Although you can play that game, people can enjoy that game, so that's part's different. But if you got in it for money, you're losing now. So Splinterlands, I never got in it for money, and I'd spent money. It's true, but I enjoyed it, and I stick around not for the money.
But listen, play to earn games don't have that much money in them. Like in real terms, like I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the international that Dota 2 puts on, right? It's the largest prize pool in the world every year of hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's all player funded. They fund it from whenever you buy a skin in the game, a portion of that goes to the big finale at the end of the year. Hundreds of millions of dollars plus advertiser revenue, plus the ability for people to be able to pay orgs around it, plus all the extra stuff that comes along with it. Like people in esport or people in blockchain gaming and play to earn gaming always like, get off on the fact that they're like, ooh, $10,000. Look at all that. And you're like, oh yeah, that's a lot of money. But like when you really think about it, you're like, hold on a second. $10,000 is really not that much when we have like 450,000 active daily users. Like when you look at these other places that are doing, hey, Valorant, look at how big their prize pool is. Look how big the prize pools for CSGO are across all the different tournaments. Like it's because I think a lot of the people aren't familiar and intimately aware of like other esports gaming competitive avenues that they just see that big number and they're like, ooh, there's so much money here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little bit different though, because, like I watch a lot of League of Legends. I watch the LCS, Worlds, all those things. But I never picture myself ever because, I'm a freaking silver, maybe gold at best when I was at the height of my play. I never picture, okay, I can realistically go to this tournament and or join the LCS or whatever and become a pro and start earning this money. I think people are interested in the GameFi blockchain gaming is because you don't have to be, top 0.1% of players in Splinterlands or Valorant or whatever the game is. Yeah, they have freaking big prize pools, but that's, going to the players that are top 0.001% of their field, right? Where anyone can join Splinterlands and make potentially a couple bucks, even if you suck at the game, right?
Totally. And I think that's still a great point. I just think that it's like games that if their main pillar is about money and about how much you can earn, it doesn't last. Like you need to have a game underneath it. How many like GameFi projects launch and they're not games?
They're DeFi. I call them DeFi with a costume.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's gross. And so like, if Splinterlands is the one that's leading the charge, you have to pay attention to the game first. That's all. Like the players will take care of the money that's in the ecosystem if you have a good game, more people will continue to come in. If you don't have a good game, everybody's going to eventually leave and move on to the next thing that they can pump and dump on. Like it's the, I always use the word stickiness, but it's like, how many times are people willing to come back when they lose their shirt? You know what I mean? Like, if you go out there and get waxed in a tournament, you lose your entry fee, you make no money on it, you wasted 3 hours on a Saturday night. Are you waking up the next day and going, yes, I want to do that all over again? Because if you're just there for the money, you don't. You're like, that was terrible, I don't want to do it again. So, like as a company, we really need to focus on making it so that it's like, the answer is yes, I want to go back and do that again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's for sure. I mean, that's the really interesting that we're seeing, I think, is the development of, okay, play to earn, as I said in the beginning, simply just for that money making. People I think, have a lot of money in crypto, or they're just seeing these stories of, hey, this person in the Philippines bought a freaking house because they're making more money than they could go get a job for in their economy by playing Axie Infinity, right? And so that's where I'm actually excited in this space. And I think Splinterlands, maybe you can argue a couple other games are leading the way. And there's probably in card games, there's the most competition. You got Gods Unchained, you got Skyweaver out, you got lots of different card games. At least Splinterlands is differentiated enough where it's not exactly that game.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to you, as a team, do you guys talk about the competition at all in these other games? Like, are you guys worried about, like, okay, card games are the easiest developed. Splinterland's been around a while. What I always picture, like, what happens when finally that World of Warcraft on the blockchain comes out, right? Is it people leave games like Splinterlands or Thetan Arena that have been kind of the initial things in this space? Or are you kind of in the belief of like, hey, like Splinterlands as a card game it can compete with anything, or at least, you know, with the card gaming market. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think we don't have a lot of explicit internal, at least that I'm part of. I'm sure like the upper management, like they have a big round table where they all sit cloaked and hooded talking about, you know, other games and how they want to poison the creators or whatever. But like we don't have a lot of direct conversations that I'm involved in. The ones that I'm involved in are way more like okay, they're here. What's their thing? You know what I mean? What's their selling point? It's not like there's one shooting game or one card game or one MOBA or one, you know, like open world kind of game. There could be lots and there could be individual selling points. It's about how good do you do yours, and then fighting every single day. You know, like I think that's the biggest downfall of Axie Infinity is that they hit their peak. And then that's where they kind of froze because they thought that they could just ride it to the moon. You know what I mean? And just it would continue to go up.
It just kind of crashed from the moon.
Yes. And so it's like, okay, that's great. But now, like, what do they do? How do they respond? Like, SPS is down, right? Let's be honest. It's nowhere near the high that it was back in December or whenever it was. But I think that it's like if you wake up every single day as a team and go out there and you're fighting for new players consistently, you're not going to run into those issues of being stale. Like you have to always be looking at what's the next game mode, what's the next thing we introduce, what's the next thing that's going to make it easier for new players to be able to get in. What do we have to do? Do we, you know, position here, target here, shift here? And I think the other big thing too is that Splinterlands, because they are in that gray area that I talked about earlier of being like acceptable to mainstream gaming, because you go to I understand it's an NFT, but like it's like a baseball card or whatever, solidifying that position. Because if you make a big WoW blockchain game, it's still not going to be as easily, like it's not as easy to describe what the NFT or blockchain portion of it is. Like that part has to be able to sit in the background, and card gaming is the easiest way to explain to like my dad who turned 69 yesterday, you know, like, hey dad, it's like owning a card that you could buy, sell, and trade.
Yeah. I mean, when people ask what I stream, what I do, I'm like video games, and they're like, what type of video games? I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But that's where it's easier for something like Splinterlands. They're like, hey, you remember playing Pokemon as a kid? Or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. Yeah, it's the same thing, but now it's just online, and there's ways to prove that I actually own these cards online. That's the only way I explain blockchain. I don't try to go into the details or NFT.
Exactly.
I just say, hey, it's something I own digitally, just a card game online. So that definitely does, I think, make sense mostly for these card games. Is one of the easiest selling points for NFTs. But I don't know about you, Zerg. Is this a game that you're like, this is like what I'm passionate about, or this is the best blockchain game for now, but I'm really looking for the World of Warcraft or whatever game you want to throw out there. I want that thing on the blockchain, and I'm just waiting for it to come out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's aspects. I'm really an RPG guy. So there really isn't that much. That's the whole Zerging. I was
StarCraft man.
StarCraft, that's it. Thank you. I played the original Warcraft, and it was just humans versus orcs. I played the original StarCraft 2, you know, all that stuff. You know, I used to cook on sheep to make them blow up back in the original Warcraft game. You know, that's my type of thing, and there hasn't been a whole lot lately, and it would be nice if I could, you know, somehow incorporate that in the Splinterlands, but I don't know if that's even feasible. But you know, this is the best thing that I had right now. So this is what I go to, and this is what I like. But if it had more, you know, more progression or more, you know, more things I can do to build up like my character in this, and somehow I could add stuff, or, you know, I don't know. This is the best thing that I have right now. It's best. I guess I can say.
I'll tell you from like internally, we have quadrupled the team from what they were in, you know what I mean? Like November to now. If you want to see stuff like that, we need to bring in new players, right? Like, because the only way that these new things are going to happen at a non-glacial pace is that it's a true development team, to where however many developers we have now, double it, triple it. You know what I mean? And those people cost money, and they cost time and resources. And it's like, we want to expand that team, but I think it's like bringing out these new tournament modes, getting those big name streamers to have buy-in, showing that we can make that cross into the larger gaming pool, all of a sudden you go, well, hey, now we're just waiting on us. It's no longer a messaging thing or being like, oh, I don't know if it's going to work out or not. Like, we're not gambling. It's, I think it's like businesses fail sometimes when they buy too much of their product ahead of time and then it doesn't sell and they just sit on top of it. We need to be in a position where like we can't keep up with the demand of how many new players are coming in and how many people are like, give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more. Because if you're in that position, it's like you can negotiate so much easier with like the suits that run this place to be like, hey, we're just waiting on us to do it to be able to cash this, $300 million check right here.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, I think that's something that people definitely often forget about, especially, with real world value. And when you put in a couple $100 into the bubble of Splinterlands and now you're down 70%, I think a lot of people are complaining and, maybe rightfully so. It's not the Splinterlands' fault that the prices are down, right? Mm-hmm. But, I can see why people could be upset or maybe more negative, all those things. It's easier to obviously be negative in a bear market than a bull run where we're all making money and celebrating like crazy. But I think, as you said, I think what's important to remember is that this team was just a couple of dudes, for the longest time. And now, as you said, they've expanded the team to whatever 100 plus people in the last couple of months. So as a team member, I want to get your perspective. Like, what was it like for you to be onboarded? Like, what's the process of joining a new team? Like, you talk about, hey, like it takes time to get these things started. I think in Town Hall you once said it's kind of like a cruise ship, it takes a while to turn, right?
Yep.
So in your mind, like, what is that experience like? And then what is that kind of point that you're looking at? You're like, man, if we don't like land all these things that we're like really talking about and discussing right now and want to do in the next 3 months, it's a failure, or 6 months, or is it 6 years? Like, what is that kind of time frame in your mind of like, this is like our like deadline, like the point where we really want to get going?
Well, this is like a startup company. You know what I mean? Like startup companies in Silicon Valley, what they essentially have is what I hold myself to is 6 months. You know what I mean? Like you have to essentially set piles of money on fire for 6 months straight, and you will not see returns in those 6 months. You just have to go, do, because you're planting seeds. And it's like, in 6 months, if we don't have at least the very first brand new tournament format out, if we don't have a couple of big deals with large name streamers and one of those front page Twitch tournaments, it is a failure on my part. If we are going like right now for 100, 200 brand new spell books a day, if I don't get that up to 1,000 a day, it's a failure. If I don't make sure that, right now we have anywhere from usually around like 80 to 130 people entering into tournaments. If in 6 months it's not over 200 to 400 people in every single tournament, it's a failure. And I publicly say that because I have I don't have reservations that we're not going to nail that, because it's like, if it's within my control, I will move hell or high water to make sure that it happens for this community. And, like being onboarded was cool, but it's chaos, like it's very quickly, as you said, a couple of guys all of a sudden have HR now, and they have assistants, and they have like scheduling, things. It's not, you can't just text somebody. Like it's, Aggie is the guy in charge, and he's having to be told by other high-level senior members to be like, hey, don't just text people and ask them to do things. It has to go through proper channels of like, reach out to this person who's this person's manager, and they're the one that has to assign the task, and who's the one that does the follow-up. Like, I worked in corporate media for 10 years. I know how the cookie crumbles. Like, this is not my first time through the meat grinder. I've lived it. But, like, this team is very quickly putting in all these layers, and the layers slow things down. But the reason that it slows things down is so that it's not like you can't get one guy that has the nuclear codes. It has to be split up amongst a whole bunch of people, so that you can't just, detonate everything all at once. That's
a metaphor, by the way, in case anyone's wondering.
Yes.
Maybe not the best analogy right now, but I get what you're saying.
Like, I just, it's nice. Like, I'm glad that they've made the hires that they have, but it's still woefully short of where the team needs to be, you know, and it's not Splinterland's fault. It's like finding people that are good for roles is hard to do to begin with, but then also not just like having people thinking that they can come in here and get paid $300,000 to do nothing. Like that's like, you guys are worried about players extracting wealth. I worry about employees and members extracting wealth. Like, every day that I'm here is a day that I need to be earning my paycheck. Like, I need to be earning what I'm being paid to do. And that's assembling that kind of a team in this space is not an easy task. So it's commendable what they're able to do so far. But I will, say like, hey, I still think that if you were to continue hiring for the rest of the year, it probably would barely scratch where we need to be to make this like the size that it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never worked for a AAA gaming studio or anything like that, but I can imagine that they have, hundreds of employees working on some of these bigger titles, for multiple years, right? It's not like, and that's kind of the weird thing is that in this play to earn space, because we're putting our assets, we're putting in bigger investments than like going out and buying the $60 latest Call of Duty, right? It's like, well, I just put in $500. What are you going to do for me now? I think is a lot of our attitudes, because a lot of people have fear or they're not used to seeing, like, it's so weird for me getting into GameFi a year ago when I'd never touched investments really hardly at all. Maybe a little bit stocks here and there, like $50 at a time. But, for me getting into crypto and then seeing it fall 50% automatically, in a month from my initial investment, I'm like, crap, like this is really hard. This is emotional. Like, this is weird. So it's not just like I'm buying the Call of Duty and I throw in my $60. It's for some people, like I'm putting in $1,000. And so I don't want to see it go down, right? Like I see it go from 1,800 and I get so short-sighted, I panic because I'm not used to putting in bigger amounts of money. I think that's where it's so easy to get tunnel visioned on, if my asset isn't appreciating right now, I'm screwed, or I need to panic, or I'm worried, or this is not working, because it's so hard to have that patience that really any investment needs. It doesn't matter if it's GameFi, stocks, bonds, whatever. You can talk about crypto in general. Really, you're not going to get the payouts unless you have some kind of patience. And I think that's something that the crypto world has falsely put out there, because there are people that have made 100x in 2 weeks, and now that's like the expected thing for some reason, right? And it's just like, come on, that's not really what this world or crypto should even really even be about.
Well, I mean, it's again also the speed of crypto, right? Like, crypto is here one day. Well, not crypto itself, but like what token people are interested in, or what's pumping, today isn't going to be pumping in another 3 or 4 days. So it's like the news cycle, because it started online, is like so much quicker. You can't keep up with it. Like, I think that's why Magic was so successful, is because it started in card shops. It started in hobby stores, to where you would play on Friday nights and go in and play Friday Night Magic with your friends, and you're able to get in there, and then you were thinking about it for the entire week, and you're like, oh shit, I got to be able to go through and play, like I'm gonna bring something for Brian's butt this time. Like, he's gonna know what's happening. Like, you're able to do things like that. Whereas now it's like, oh, hey, I bought this Summoner Spellbook 2 weeks ago. Land still isn't here. I hate this place. And you're like, I don't know if that's really fair or not, but okay. Like, I think that the sooner we can take Splinterlands into the real world, meaning getting Twitch activations again from those large name streamers, from partnering up with brick and mortar card hobby stores, like the people that are already in there loving Magic, being able to maybe produce like a physical card deck, to where you buy the cards, you can hold them, and then you can redeem a code to have those cards in an online wallet that you can go play with, to be able to have, like, if you yes, exactly, like when we had our a deal with ZipMex over in the Philippines, being featured in the largest mall in the world, we had a Splinterlands arcade cabinet that we had out there. We need to be producing those en masse and sending them out to card game stores all across the US and Canada, and begging for shelf space to be able to like go in there, because again, these crypto bros are not going to be the lifeblood of the game, because they're so finicky. They aren't looking for a game. They're looking for the next way to score some cash. But the people that play Magic have been getting destroyed by Wizards of the Coast for 25 years at this point. They're willing to stick with it. We need to go after the people that are like invested in the game, and the economy again is secondary to them for the most part if we want to see them stick around for a long time.
How can we vote for you to be vice president? I love your ideas. I want them to be enacted now.
Yes, give me the gavel. I'll bang it and tell them passed.
I mean, for you, Zerg, you're I think you're diamond level right now.
Yeah.
So for you, as someone that holds more assets, I mean, I'm someone that's honestly I've put in a couple $100 of my own, but honestly I've been gifted a lot as a streamer. Where I have a couple $1,000 in assets, but I don't feel like, okay, if they go to nothing, like whatever, that was fun. Like they're gifts. Like I'm not gonna complain. Like I don't have this like huge panic in me about my assets going up or down. Like I'm along for the ride, and I love streaming and covering the game. For you, Zerg, as someone that holds more assets, are you okay with where the pace of the team is moving? Like, are you worried about it at all? Are you like, I don't really care if it goes up or down? Like, what is kind of your attitude here?
No one's ever happy with the pace.
Never.
Everyone wants everything yesterday. Me too. I want all the new hot stuff right away. But this is one of those teams that I believe in, and more I hear Weirdbeard, I believe in it more. But I've always believed in aggro. I've been listening to the town halls for 8-9 months or whatever it was, I've always trusted team. So, I don't think he's gonna just rug us and change everything tomorrow. I don't think he's going to, make all the cards and investments I have just disappear. I think it's going to hold value, even if for whatever reason I stop playing. If I come back 5 years from now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be value. So, I trust the team, and I think they're going the right direction. And no one's ever happy with the speed. It's just the way it is.
I mean, and that's fine. Like, I will, as somebody who works for Splinterlands, I'll be like, dude, I totally feel it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not upset at people that are frustrated with the speed, because I would rather have people care about it than be like, whatever, they suck anyways. It doesn't matter whether they do it today or in a month, like they suck. Like that's not the kind of place that we want to be. So I think it's like, again, coming from a place of empathy with players and being like, listen, I agree, it sucks. Like I wish that we could do more and do it quicker. So it's just doing what we can with what we have, doing it well, showing that it like is a thing that people like, and then scaling it and doing it more. That's the idea behind these like these noob tournaments that we started to run, right? 25% of the regular entry fees for SPS and CP that in there, lower entry fees, higher penalty fees for people outside of the ranking that are entering into it. We did one for the first time for the noob kobold and noob novice ones. We saw a whole bunch of people enter into them that weren't entering into the other tournaments, and we go, dope, cool. So what we did this week, there's a noob tournament for silver, gold, diamond, a gold foil one that's now a noob tournament for people that always are like, oh, I just don't have enough gold foil, CP. Here you go. There's a noob tournament. But the only reason we were able to do that is because we saw that the other ones were working. So I think it's a matter of like using tournaments as the spear point to be able to experiment, take risks, see things that do well and don't do well. And whatever does do well, you double and triple down on to make it so that we can fund, support, and like prioritize those other large things like a DAO and land and the stuff that gets the people that are really, nerdy about it. Fine, cool. You can do that. I'm not, apologies on it. But if we're not servicing the 90% to build up the 10% that really care about those kinds of things, it's just a hard, bargain to reconcile.
Yeah, I'm excited for Splinterlands. I mean, kind of as Zerg said, I really do believe in the team, and I'm more of the opinion as far as the investment side. I'm like, you know what? It's fun. Like, let's just wait out. Really what I'm focused on is 3 to 5 years, especially when all the SPS is mostly dumped out anyways, and we're not constantly inflating the token. So I'm just here to ride the wave and wait it out. I'm not like I need my value of my assets now, because really the value of assets really doesn't matter until you pull them out, right? Until you sell them off. It really doesn't matter what the price does up and down until you're actually going to say, okay, I'm going to transfer this to something else or take it out for real world value. So I think Splinterlands is still in a good position, even though things are down. Everywhere is down. Look at any other player in game. most all of them are suffering right now. So what I want to do is kind of wrap up this conversation and jump outside of Splinterlands into Play to Earn, just to kind of, I guess, give us a bigger, wholer picture. And I want to get your guys' opinions on how do we bring people into this space who aren't into crypto at all. And we've talked about it in a little bit here and there, but what do you guys think are some of the biggest barriers? Is it literally just lack of education? Is it just how hard it is to figure out how to, buy DEC to buy SPS and get vouchers? Or I don't know, like, what are some of the biggest barriers that you guys have seen in this space to getting people, that aren't just, hey, I'm playing Splinterlands because I've played Axie or I know another game. It seems like a lot of them are bouncing from game to game to game. What's it going to take to say, like, hey, my friend down the street, Jimmy, like, you've never touched crypto ever. You don't even know a clue what the heck blockchain is. Maybe you've heard of Bitcoin. Let me get you into Play to Earn gaming. What does it take for those types of people?
I mean, I would say for me, it's not calling out bad actors. That's the number one thing I think is like, from the outside coming in, there's a lot of like honor among thieves in the Play to Earn community where, you'll see people that are trading tokens around or, you know what I mean? Rugging in one project and just moving on to the next, or, oh, we're going to promise that it's going to be like, there was one that like Jake Paul did that was like animals. And they like just took and photoshopped together animals, and it was supposed to be like a Minecraft of zoo animals or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
But like when that happened, you didn't see a ginormous group of Play to Earn games be like, yo, that's bullshit. Like that should never happen. These people are like scam artists. Why are we allowing them in here? Like that's what you saw with the sexual harassment lawsuits against Activision Blizzard, right? The large, funded by Tencent. They're a gajillion dollar company that does Call of Duty, Overwatch, anything that Diablo, that's Activision Blizzard. And when that happened, you had companies left and right being like, nah, dog, that ain't the move. Sorry. Like, we're going to have to reevaluate what we're doing here. Or even just putting out statements being like, we don't support or condone things like that. That doesn't happen in the Play to Earn space because it's already like a, if anybody says anything negative about NFTs or anybody says anything negative about GameFi, then they're like outcasts. I think that there needs to be not a purging, because that sounds very like totalitarian and creepy about it, but like you got to get the bad actors out of the space. They do way more irreparable harm, and Splinterlands pays the price on it because we have to convince people why NFTs aren't scams. We haven't done anything that's, hurt people in the long term for the gaming, but like we're paying for those sins. And I think until that as a like fundamental level is analyzed, everything else is just set dressing. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it doesn't matter how good Splinterlands is doing. If Alien Infinity, whatever, the next day they come out and it's like, oh, look, they just rugged everybody and took $1 gajillion and disappeared. Splinterlands would feel that effect. That would be our cross to bear.
Yeah, my rug pull that I'm creating is called Bitcoin Buddies, where they're just little plushies. You buy 10 of them. They're 1,000 a piece, but if you buy all 10, you get the 10% bonus for your earnings. So all you gotta do is put up 10 grand. The funny thing is, I said this about 2 months ago, and now there's legit a project. I don't know if it's a scam or not, but it's called Bitcoin Buddies. So someone stole my idea, unfortunately, so I can't rug people anymore. But sorry, Zerg, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Well, no, I mean, I totally understand that, and I believe that. But I think the biggest barrier actually is that if we could be on the App Store, the better app, not to bash the app right now, except for it is definitely not.
It's terrible. It's so bad.
It's got some bugs.
That's like saying that, the Titanic was a sailboat. Like, I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Well, but the thing is, if you could do that with your Apple Pay or whatever else, you buy your spell book, and that's maybe just the app is $10 and that's it. And they don't know anything about a spell book, and they can play all the modes, and maybe there's, a campaign or whatever. But if they never have to know about a blockchain, if they never have to know about that, they're even NFTs.
Yes.
If they think that those are just cards and they're playing and they're not buying, selling, renting or whatever, they're just playing a card game on their phone and don't know anything else, then I think that would take off. I think that would be I'm not going to say the next Candy Crush, but it could be, double the amount of people in there.
Mm-hmm.
And not that they have to buy anything or sell, cards on the market or SPS. Maybe they don't even know what SPS is, but they're playing and having fun. And if they want to, they can add that to their experience. They can go down there. They can find out what their wallet is because it's already been made for them. They just didn't know it. There is a section for selling your cards, but then maybe they've never done that. That's something that if they get playing and they're loving, they can add that to their understanding of the game and expand it. But
that insulates people from I play a lot of Apex Legends, right? I spend no money in the game. Every skin that I have in that game comes from just playing a buttload of it. And there's players who are get really bent out of shape when they release a new skin and they're like, I can't believe they're charging $35 for it. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't ever interact with that. You can do that. You can get bent out of shape about it. I have ugly skins because I just want to shoot stuff. That's where this game needs to evolve to, where it's if you don't want to touch the economy of the game, fine. Good on you. You'll sleep better and have fewer ulcers when you get older. But for the people that do want to do it, we have to be able to make it so that it's it doesn't feel gross, I think is the easiest way for me to wrap it up on that.
Yeah, and I think Splinterlands does a pretty good job of getting players into the game without having to understand crypto. As you said, Zerg, you can get the keys. It's just all done before you. You can buy credits with PayPal. Although I did have a friend who was during the pre-sale, he was like, what the hell are these vouchers? I can't go into the shop and just buy packs. What is going on? I have to go to this tribal decks thing and, buy vouchers off of other players because they don't have SPS. So there are still a couple barriers. Obviously, that was just specifically for the pre-sale. But I think one of the toughest parts in general for this GameFi space is jumping from game to game right now is just a complete mess, especially if someone doesn't know crypto. If I say, hey, you want to join Splinterlands? That one's easy. But then hey, you want to also now go play Axie Infinity. Well, guess what? You're going to need to set up a Ronin wallet. Here's how you do that. Here's all the keys. Now you want to go play a game on whatever, Cardano or Binance Smart Chain. Guess what? You got to make another wallet. And how do you transfer the funds between this? Well, you need to go to this bridge and then transfer it to this. So I think that's what I really love to see in this space is more of those bridges, more of those easy, this is the one-stop shop, or this is an easy way to convert from here to here. And that Splinterlands has a little bit of that. I would say they're probably more advanced than most games because, someone could be on Wax blockchain and just send their Wax straight to buy credits. Okay, so those are some of the roads I like to see being paved more and more and more because, gamers don't, they want to be in multiple games, right? As much as I like Splinterlands, yeah, I still want to one day stream an MMO on the side or a shooter or a MOBA or whatever, right? Gamers want to have at least 2, 3, 4 games. Not many people just sit on one game for 10 years and that's the only thing they play, right? So I think the more and more bridges and on-roads and off-ramps we can have for this space, I think two will also be really helpful in getting gamers into the space without having a huge headache every time they want to try a new game.
Yeah, I just think it's, again, you really have to shift the perspective away from looking at this game as just a play to earn title. You know what I mean? We cannot be just a play to earn game anymore. It needs to be shortened to just, we are a video game. And then what do you do from there? That's the only way to survive. It's the same way as games can be roguelikes, or they can be, you know what I mean? A top-down RTS shooter or a strategy sim or all that other kind of stuff. But people care about fun games. And if you make it easier for them to have fun, everything else follows. I think that's just if you can do that, everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see some growth in this space for Splinterlands and all games, and everything we can just all celebrate together as this space grows. And next year, hopefully things are just so much better for Splinterlands and all other types of play-to-earn games as well. So great discussion tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Zerg, I'll let you sign off first. Anything you want to shout out this week?
Not really. If you want, ZergingGamer. I'm on Twitch, YouTube, what else I left out? Twitter. If you want, come watch me play. Again, it's not going to be very professional, but I like to have a good time. So, join if you like.
I was bummed that we didn't have Jim on tonight. His internet wasn't working because we literally have the Tuesday stream team like right here. It's like you, then me, and then Jim, just back to back to back. So we're gonna have to come up with like some name for us. What's our band name? You think?
Our band name?
I feel
I don't
like
know.
we
I
gotta
thought we were
start
going to go with the Monkeys. No, I could be See No Evil. You could be.
You could be Lukey and the Pussycats.
Okay.
Great. That's not what I'm going to say.
All right.
Lukey and the Lions. There we go.
Lukey and the Lions. Perfect.
All right. Yeah, you guys should check out Zerg on his channel. Definitely check out the stream team as well on Tuesdays. Weird Beard, anything you want to shout out as we sign off today?
I mean, not really. I have a TikTok that's all about esports and video game news, but I don't like that. It's what I do on the side, so I don't want to shout that out. But I will tell people.
Shout it out. Shout it out as loud as you can.
All right, here we go. Let me make sure that I get it correct. I feel okay. It's at Weird Beard Media, so you can come hang out with me on TikTok. I do them just because I thought TikTok is fun and it's under a minute. But really, like more than anything else, please, if you're watching this either on replay or live, I appreciate you so much for just being a player every single day. You allow me to work a career of my dreams, to be able to spend time at home with my kid, and work for a group of community people that I totally respect and will always do what I can to make the game as fun, inviting, and approachable as I can, because that's what you, the players, deserve. So please, if you ever have any questions, please come to our Discord. I live in the tournaments channel. You can post anything you want there. You can tell me how much I suck at my job, or you can tell me how great I am. I don't really care, just as long as you get those engagement numbers. Always one message away on Discord. It is, oh my God, Weird Beard, hashtag 8751. You can send me a DM or just find me in there. But I just want to say thank you so much. I really, this community has allowed me to pursue some things that I never thought I would be able to do. So I will give it my, all 150% to make sure that you guys get what you deserve for giving me my dream.
Sweet. Well, appreciate it, Weird Beard and Zerg. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to end the podcast, but if you want to stick around live, we got a gifted pack from Mumpole, so maybe we'll get, just like Balthazar, it'll be the exact opposite, though. The least amount of packs ever opened on stream. So stick around if you want to. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to check out these two, their links are in the description of YouTube, or if you're watching or listening, I guess, on podcast platforms, I'll throw it in there as well. For now, thank you guys for watching and listening on our podcast. Appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great week. Sweet. All right, let's open the pack, shall we? You guys ready? I don't know if you guys can't see the screen. You have to go to the screen. I'm feeling a gold foil legendary. What are you guys thinking?
Oh, Grum. Let's get a Grum.
Yeah, let's do it.
A Grum?
A gold foil Grum.
Okay. From Mumpoles, let's see. 1, 2. Oh, we got 2 rares. And oh man, no legendaries. I swear I never get any legendaries from Mum. It's always Mum's packs. I appreciate the pack though.
I wish I could have blessed it with better RNG. I apologize.
I mean, I wish I had the RNG of Balthazar. Although when you open up, 10,000 packs, you're destined to get at least 1 gold foil legendary.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining live stream. We're gonna end the stream now. Thanks for jumping by, and we'll see you guys.